Okay, so on this lesson, we're going to be looking at the 3x3 applications, so the word problems. So on these problems, I'm going to let you decide on what method you want to use. So we went over substitution, elimination, which are the algebraic ways, and then we also talked about inverses on a matrix, and then also the augmented matrices. So it's really up to you. All right, so first thing, we're going to identify and declare variables, and then we're going to write the equations based on the information provided, and then I'll let you pick whatever method you want to solve. Okay? All right, so a streaming service offers an SD streaming plan for $7, an HD streaming plan for $9, and a multi-screen HD streaming plan for $12. The HD streaming plan subscriptions are 3 million more than twice the number of multi-screen HD streaming plan subscriptions. Last year, the company had 55 million subscribers and made $445 million in streaming service revenue. How many of each type of plan in millions did the streaming service sell last year? So we're first going to declare our variables. So you can use X, Y, Z, you can use whatever variables you want as long as you define them. So I'm just going to say S is going to represent the SD streaming plan sold. And then I'm going to say H is going to be your HD sold. And then I'm going to say M is your multi-screen HD sold. Okay? All right, so if we have three unknowns, we are going to need to have three different equations. So we're going to need, it says there's a total of 55 million subscribers. So if we add up the number of SD plus HD plus the multi-screen HD, it should give us 55 million. Now our answer is going to be a million, so we can actually just put the number 55 here. Another thing that we can use from the problem is it gave us the total revenue of $445 million, which means we'll include the dollar amount for each type. So I would have 7S plus 9H plus 12M equals 445. Okay, so I also need another equation. So it told us the HD streaming plan is 3 million more than twice the number of multi-screen. So we're going to have HD, which is H, equals 3 million more than twice the multi-screen HD. So I'm going to put 2M plus 3. You could also put 3 plus 2M. So it's the same thing. All right, so there's my three equations. Now part C, we're going to solve it. Again, you can use substitution, elimination, inverses on a matrix, and then also the augmented matrix. So it's really up to you. So I'm going to go ahead and just rewrite my equations right here. And then 7S plus 9H plus 12M equals 445. Okay, so now this third equation didn't have all my variables on one side. So I'm going to use a matrix to solve. I'm going to need all of my variables on one side, which means I would have to subtract 2M over. So I'm going to line it up. So H, then I would have to subtract 2M over equals 3. So there's my three equations. I'm going to use an augmented matrix. So that means it's all 3 by 3, or 3 by 4. So I would have a 7 for the S's. Notice there's not an S on this one, so I would put a 0 for that element. And then a 1, a 9, and a 1. And then a 1, 12, and negative 2. And then remember you put like a dashed line to separate your coefficients from your constants. Okay, so we've already gone over how to plug this in. So remember, you do second matrix, you can go edit 3x4, plug it in. If you're doing augmented, so I would type this in as a 3x4 matrix, and then I would need to go second matrix. You're gonna go over to math, and then you're going to go up to B, which is reduce row echelon form. And so whenever you do that, you should end up getting, again, that's a review. You should already know how to do that. So you should end up getting 1, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 0, 0, 1, and then this should be 34, 15, and 6. Okay, so what this means is this is S, H, and M. That's the order that we had it in. So S is 34. So that would be a SD, streaming plan. So they sold 34 million SD streaming plans. And then this is the H, so they sold 15 million HD streaming plans. And M, which is a multi-screen. And they sold 6 million. So we're writing these in sentence form. All right, so S was 34, H was 15, and M was 6. Okay, so now let's move on to the next one. Okay, example 2, the combined age of 3 friends is 50. Kelly is 1 year older than Paul. Haley is 3 years younger than Kelly, and how old is each person? So we're gonna declare our variables, which means just define them so that way you know which variable represents what. So I'm just gonna say K is gonna stand for Kelly's age. And then P, excuse me, P is Paul's age. And then H is gonna be Haley's. Okay, so we're going to formulate our 3 equations, which says the combined age is 50. So if I do Kelly plus Paul plus Haley's age, it equals 50. Okay, then it says Kelly is, which means equals. So K equals 1 year older than Paul. So I'm going to do Paul plus 1, or you could do 1 plus Paul. It doesn't matter. Haley is, so equals, so H equals 3 years younger than Kelly, so we would actually have to take away from Kelly. So this one does matter. You need K minus 3. Okay, so we're going to set up our equation. So I'm just going to rewrite the first one. You can solve it using substitution, elimination, inverses, or augmented matrices. It doesn't matter. I'm going to put K, and then I would have to subtract P over, and it equals 1. I would have to subtract K over, and I already have a plus H, and then that equals negative 3. So I'm just getting my variables on the left side, leaving my constants on the other. Okay, so on number 1, we set up an augmented matrix. So this time I'm going to set up an inverse, so that way you just kind of remember reviewing both of those. So an inverse matrix, we would have 1, 1, negative 1, 1, negative 1. Notice there's no P here, so that's 0, 1. Notice there's no H here, so that's 0 and 1. And then we set up our three variables K, P, and H. This is just a matrix equation. And then our constants are 50, 1, and -3. Okay, so if you were solving this one, you would plug this into A, plug this into B. To actually solve for K, P, and H, I would do inverse of A times B on the calculator. And then that should give me my solution. So on this one, if you typed this into matrix A, this into B, and then on the home screen, you have to do inverse of A times B, you should get 18, 17, and 15 for your solution. Which means Kelly's age is 18. Paul is 17. And then Haley is 15. So that's using a matrix equation, uses inverses. So that's just another way of solving it. You could have also set up an augmented matrix and then used reduced row echelon form. And then you could have also done substitution or elimination. You should get the same solution no matter what method you choose. Okay, flipping over. All right, example 3. So this time we have a triangle. So we have, it says in triangle XYZ, the sum of the measures of angle X and angle Y equals 30 degrees more than the measure of angle Z. The measure of angle Z is 15 degrees more than the measure of angle Y. So we're first going to define our variables or declare our variables. I'm going to call X, and that's going to be the measure of angle X. Y is going to be the measure of angle Y, and Z is going to be the measure of angle Z. Okay, so we have to come up with 3 equations. So the very first sentence says the sum of angle X and Y equals 30 degrees more than the measure of Z. So I could put Z plus 30 or 30 plus Z. Same thing. The second sentence says the measure of angle Z is, which means equals, 15 degrees more than the measure of Y. So we could put Y plus 15, or you could put 15 plus Y. Same thing. Now, that is all we have from that, but you're having to think back to the geometry. We're talking about a triangle, and we're talking about the degrees of each angle. So you should remember from geometry that to add all the sides, remember it totals 180. So X plus Y plus Z equals 180. Okay, so you can use whatever method you want. I'm going to go ahead and rewrite my equation so that way all my variables are on one side. So I had to subtract Z on the first one. I have to subtract Y on the second one. And the third one I don't have to do anything to. All right, so I'm going to use augmented. So I'm going to set up one big matrix, 3 by 4. So 1, 0, 1. For the X's, 1, -1, 1, -1, 1, 1, and then constants 30, 15, and 180. So again, you plug that in. There's a 3 by 4, and then you're doing second matrix. Go over to math, and then go up to B, which is our reduced row echelon, can't spell, echelon form. Okay? All right, so when you do that, you should get a solution of 45, 60, 75. So the measure of angle X equals 45 degrees. The measure of angle Y equals 60 degrees. And the measure of angle Z equals 75 degrees. Okay? All right, last one. Okay, so example 4. A triangle has a perimeter of 27 millimeters. what are the side lengths A, B, and C? So I'm just going to first say A is going to be the side length A, B is the side length B, and C is the side length C. Okay, so perimeter from geometry. Remember, perimeter of any object is adding all the sides. So my first equation would be A plus B plus C, which is adding all the sides, should give you a total of 27. The other equations, we actually know B is 2A, and then the third equation, C equals A plus B minus 3. Okay, so now first equation we don't have to do anything with. We would have to subtract 2A over, which would leave a 0 on that constant side. We would have to subtract A and B over, which would leave negative 3 on that side. So again, you can use whatever method you want, substitution, elimination, inverses, or augmented matrix. So I'll just use the augmented. No C on the second equation. When you plug it in, you should end up getting A is 5, B is 10, and C is 12. So the measure of A equals 5, B equals 10, and C equals 12. All right, so here's our word problems. Hardest part really is just setting up your equations. The rest of it, you can solve it whichever way you prefer. If you have any questions, please let me know.